Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another Uncanny Mystic Minds. So for today, we have StijnFawkes. How's it going, bro?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me, for having
Yeah,
me back.
for
It's
having you
been a
back on
while.
again. Yeah, for having you back on again. Yeah, dude. God, this was sometime fucking. I can't even remember. It was some months ago. So I'm glad to have you back on, and because I know we're both busy bees. In
Yeah.
life from work to podcasting. You have the Great Horn Pagan podcast, and then you do other
Yes, I
shit like
do.
training. So you kind of have enough on your plate, as do I. So thanks for coming on, bro. Appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. So real quick, lately, God, this was it was like a video, like a post that you made, and you were talking about, you were kind of like making like a joke, but like also how you liked about how when you go and train in jujitsu, you're like, this is a place where it's like a club to have fun, to like learn about like how to tear someone's arm off, and how to like
Yeah.
break ankles, and how to basically like how to like freaking break them apart, and pretty much even kill them in a sense. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
no,
like
that's very true. That's jujitsu in a nutshell. You bump fists and simulate murder, but with consent. So that
yes,
that makes it better. That makes it not bad. No, but jujitsu
yeah,
is
yeah.
it's a great sport.
Hell yeah. Yeah, like when people go in the dojo, they know what this is going to be. Like everyone knows like what they're getting themselves into, and then so I'm sure. Yeah, like that's pretty
and if
cool.
and if they don't, they'll figure it out soon enough.
Yeah, exactly that too. You know. Yeah, no, I have some friends. I've known some friends that are and were in the jujitsu world, and yeah, so I saw like some of like their culture and like how they were together, and like they were like tight and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Kind of like a family, and it was just really cool how structured they were. Because I remember in, like, say, high school, for example, I played football, and then my football friends also, a lot of them were wrestlers. And when I would
mhm.
wait for them at wrestling practice, when I was done with my soccer practice, I would see them doing their wrestling, and I was like, dude, I'm like, this looks harder than what we do in football for sure. Like I was like, oh, this dojo, like the shit on the mat they're doing, and their conditioning and all that. And so I know that jujitsu is similar. Like all like those kind of martial arts are similar. Like they're pretty hardcore. Like it can get like that for sure. Like once you get deeper into it.
Oh yeah, they're hardcore. But freestyle wrestling, the American freestyle wrestling, you see parts of it in jujitsu. Like it's becoming quite a hold on. It's becoming quite a mixed bag. Sorry, my girlfriend
Yeah,
is calling me.
yeah. Don't worry, dude.
Um, but yeah, it's becoming quite mixed. Like jiu-jitsu or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, of course, first brought over by the Gracie family
Yeah.
from Brazil. They learned it in Japan, like the classic jiu-jitsu. Added some things here and there, brought it over to South America, to America, and from there it spread to the West, of course. But it's ever evolving. You see that in the UFC as well, like jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and basically the ground game, your grappling game, your wrestling game is more important now than
Mm.
your striking game. But it's tough. It's very tough.
Mm.
I always say that with new guys who come into the dojo, like they'll what we do, what how we train is for an hour and a half. We'll do like an hour of technique drilling and learning new
Mm.
techniques and kind of drilling the techniques, and then 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes of either starting with positional sparring, so from the like sparring, but from the techniques that we just practiced. So if we practiced something from, let's say, a basic closed guard, then we'll start from a closed guard, and then like the last 15-20 minutes is free sparring. And I always tell those the new guys, the new kids sometimes even, like they'll be like beat and panting after after 2 rounds of 5 minutes. I always tell them like, yeah, man, you got stamina, and then there's jujitsu stamina. Like it's
Oh my
vastly different. Like you
god.
can run the marathon, that's perfectly fine. But 5 minutes on the mat,
Can
it's
imagine.
it's so different.
That's cool. Oh my god. Yeah, that sounds intense. It sounds like I would need my inhaler there for sure, like on the side of the mat. If I would.
Several probably.
Yeah, probably. I got a couple, so I can make it work.
Okay,
Oh, it's
good.
so cool.
Just have them lined up.
And some water and shit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I remember when like when Hoist Gracie, in that when he beat everybody up in that tournament, and that's when everyone's eyes like started opening a lot, and like even my God, like even like 2 or 3 minutes like down the main street from my house, there's like a jujitsu play. Well, like there's a lot, but there's one with that has that name on it, that has the Gracie name, and so I've never been in there, but it's like 3 minutes from my house on a main road, and
Yeah.
yeah, but they're out there for sure, and it's popping. It's yeah.
Yeah,
Um
and with the rise of popularity of UFC and the big jiu-jitsu guys like oh, his name escapes me, Gordon, whatever, like big British guy. Like he's become very popular. He's become very mainstream and just showed what jiu-jitsu is about, what jiu-jitsu can do, and it's intense, it's brutal, and yeah, you have to take care of yourself. Like if you don't take care of yourself, I mean, it's they even say it in the professional fights, you know take care of yourselves at all times. Like it's up to you to tap out or to tap off or
yeah,
whatever. you know if you don't do that, you're gonna get hurt.
yeah, and I can imagine in like a split, half a second or whatever, or a split
Oh
second.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So you got to
For
like know
sure.
your body and shit like that.
Yeah, and it can even, like, it can happen on accident. I remember one time I was rolling, I was sparring with a guy who's bit higher level than me, and I just rolled over my shoulder or my neck in a weird position or whatever, and pinched a nerve, maybe. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but what I do know is that it's like still bothered me like 3 weeks after, like a full
Oh,
3 weeks of like barely training, taking it slow, resting up, not doing like too heavy weights and all, but just, and I don't even know what happened. Just a weird crinkle in my neck, rolled wrong, and
yeah,
pinched the
man.
nerve.
Yeah, and then those pinched nerves, like when I've had them in the past, those are like almost the worst because at first you think, oh, it's like a knot or this and that, right? So like I would go get a massage, right? And I'm like, no, this
Yeah.
shit is not working. Like they're not. And then if you got to go to a chiropractor, you have to make sure that that stuff has subsided or that the inflammation went down. Because if you go in the first 24 hours of that thing, the chiropractor can't even do shit to you anyway. So I've gone to the chiro too early as well. And they're
Oh,
like, oh, this is
oh,
not good. Like you have to wait like a little bit, like to even try to attempt that. And then so it's like really yeah, like I remember one time I don't know what happened, but I just had to keep looking down, like almost down at the floor. Like I couldn't like look up, and it was like hard to like get in and out of bed. Like it was like that type of thing.
oh.
It's like really kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy. Like
Yeah.
I
Oh,
didn't.
that sounds very familiar. Like just one position that's like kind of
Yeah,
comfortable, even though it's not comfortable. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So now I'm familiar because I've had it a couple times, from like training, like of like working out and stuff like that. And Now my big clue is that okay, if the massage, because usually a massage will feel good to anyone within like a matter of a couple short minutes, you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
some deep tissue and stuff. But if the deep tissue isn't doing shit, you're like still like in pain and it's not like warming you down like nothing, then that's how you know it's the nerve, like when the
yeah,
massage doesn't even hit or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
you're saying that now like the ground game like for UFC is like more important. It's like a
From
little bit more than striking, like the
from
grappling
what
and the
I've
ground.
from what I've heard, at least, I don't watch it a lot myself, but I do try to like keep up with everything. Is that a lot of like good wrestlers, a lot of great wrestlers, especially from like Eastern Europe, like all those the small countries around Russia, where they like actually wrestle with bears. Um, yeah, it's a thing there. It's they're absolutely insane, but that makes them so great and so
That's
dangerous.
awesome.
Like so many great wrestlers and strong wrestlers have come into the cage, and a good grappler or a good wrestler will like nullify your stand-up game. Like, how are you gonna throw strikes and kicks, or powerful strikes and powerful kicks, if he has you pinned on the mat or pinned against the cage? I mean, against the cage, it's still a little
Yeah.
easier, but and I have wrestled with guys like that. I have grappled with guys like that who um like just their pressure game, like just their top pressure is enough that I like quite literally can't breathe, and I just have to tap to pressure, just because, not because they're like such big guys or whatever. Like I mean, you wouldn't tell, but I'm like 90, 95 kilograms. Not sure how much that is in pounds. Let's say I'm like 220, 200, 220, something there. Um, and like I'd be sparring with someone who like weighs less than me, but his pressure game is just so good and so tight that if he pins me down, I'm like, okay, I can't fucking breathe. If I can't breathe, there's no way I'm gonna escape. Fuck it.
Damn, dude. So like the technique, you know what I mean? That's so like that's such a trump card, you know, and like that's why I
Yeah,
respect the jujitsu because they're super technical, they're super technique based. And then that's
yeah,
why like Gracie, like Hoist Gracie, for example, like for an average man, he's built well for an average man. But when you put him in the octagon with like these other monsters, he's like not. He doesn't look like a Superman
yeah,
in a sense compared to the other ones in per se.
yeah. And
So it
that's
goes
that
to
was
show you.
was that's what was so funny at the first UFC event. Like everyone was like, "Who is this? Small, scrawny dude? Like, what are you gonna do, bro?" And then he just ends up winning the tournament. Like,
Yeah, yeah, with his willpower and with his technique,
yeah,
and he let everyone
but
and he let the world.
that's
Well, I guess the world ended up finding out and all that
oh,
stuff.
they
Yeah,
they they did for sure. They did for sure. But
yeah.
technique is such a big part of it. I do remember, like, I used to be that cocky guy who went to the gym like 4 or 5 days a week, and just I wasn't necessarily big, but I was strong. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be a power based grappler, and that works for a minute, and then you're gassed, and
Mm.
especially when fighting against someone with a lot better technique, he's just gonna wait till you're gassed, because then he can do whatever. And that's what I fortunately, my technique has become better. I've come to the realization that power is it's great, but technique is where it is. So that's what I tell a lot of the new guys as well. Like, they will it's so funny because I recognize that they will like start thrashing around like a fish out of water, and just like go wild and try to tear themselves away and push me off and whatever. And I'm just trying to hang on. That's all I'm doing. And just waiting for them to grow tired so that I
Mm,
can do my thing. So that's why I am now
okay.
the guy who tells the new guys, like, guys, chill, just relax. Like, don't go crazy, don't go thrashing around, don't be like a fish out of water, and just take it easy, because you're gonna
Yeah.
spend so much energy, and all I have to do is hang on. And when you grow tired after, what, 30 seconds, a minute of thrashing around, I'm just gonna grab a limb and, you know twist it in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably is no more than a minute. Like if you're going ham and gassing yourself out, I'm sure it probably won't go more than a minute per se. And yeah, it's
Uh,
kind of like riding the wave or like hold, you know what I mean? Like or like riding
mm,
the roller coaster, riding the wave, and then once it's done, then you're like, okay, and like now I'm like,
yeah,
it's kind of
exactly. I
like
mean,
that, right?
it's still like I still have to exert some energy as well, trying to hold on to those guys. But like if I'm on my back and they're in my guard, I just close my legs, hook my feet, and hold on for dear life while they just expend all the energy that they have, and then I just grab them in, try to tear their arm off or pop their head off.
Or
Sounds really rude, but
or rip the arm back, right? Like kind of like.
mm, yeah, there are several things
Mhm.
that you can do. One of my favorites is the yeah, the hammer lock. So basically, like how the cops will like twist your arm back.
Uh-huh. Yes.
I like to do that one, and especially from a closed guard. I just grab the arm and twist myself sideways and twist their arm.
Love
Like
that. Yeah.
it's
Oh, okay. So that's called a hammer lock. I didn't know the name for that
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
hammerlock,
Yeah.
keylock,
I like I
hammerlock
like
is
that.
the name. It's yeah. They don't call it the hammerlock in jiu-jitsu, but it's basically it's a hammerlock. It's how it's I call it in
Yeah.
wrestling, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a useful one. Yeah,
It
it's like
sure is.
yeah, it's like riding the wave. Like this is a good concept. I like to elaborate with one of my passions of poker. I like playing cards, poker, and that's something that I've been saying the last month or so. I've been working on like formulating my structure of like what I like my like what I go in with the like kind of like my number structure of where I'm going to be at, so I can kind of give myself leverage. And so it requires patience and a plan. You kind of have to be patient and like kind of stick to it. So now that I've gotten my structure, like my analytic part down, I'm like realizing like, oh, okay. Now that I'm realizing that there's a formula that will kind of work, that'll have you like it like let's say 60%, for example. Like that's more than half, right? So if you get more than
Yeah,
half, like you're winning in a sense, right? So and I'm realizing that if you ride this wave and you kind of stay with the structure of your plan, then as long as you ride the wave, you should be like at least not a loser. And then so
yeah,
like and so that's good for poker, because you don't want to get sucked out and this and that. And then the same for a fight. You don't necessarily have to kill or beat or pummel the person down, but as long as you don't lose, then that's pretty good.
exactly,
And then
exactly.
so there's something to that too. And that's because you have like a plan. Like you have like your stuff that you have lined up. Like you have things lined up. Okay, as soon as this roller coaster is over or I ride the wave, then I'm going to implement my plan that I already had 5 minutes ago or 2 3 minutes ago. So it's
Yeah,
kind of it's kind of similar. That's pretty cool. Like I guess that
yeah,
goes to show you that there's in planning your things with patterns and structures. If you really believe in your formula, then it will work. Like because it's kind of proven. Like it's like a time and time it gets kind of proven again. So that's why lately, the last month or so, I've been like, oh, just hang on to your plan, to your game plan, because it'll just kind of work out. Like some days might be tough, like some weekends might be really really rough, but you can still barely hold on, and like at least you didn't lose the fight. And then some other days, maybe you just beat the hell out of the guy, and you were looking like a really like super over, super on top. But as long as you didn't lose, like that's pretty good.
Yeah, most definitely, and
Yeah.
that's what I mean, some people will call him overhyped, but Gordon Ryan was the grappler that I was talking
Okay.
about. Um, he like what I have seen him do in a lot of his fights, a lot of his tournaments. He's, you guess you could. A lot of people will say he's cocky like that, but he'll hand um, the announcers, he'll hand them a note and tell them, "Don't open this note until the fight's over." And on that note, he has wrote down the way in which he will win that fight,
Mhm.
and he does. And he does. Like, I don't know if that's like part game plan, part manifestation, or just, but call it cocky, but it works. And
Yeah.
he does it, and it's become it's become sort of a gimmick, but he makes it work, and
There's
he's
something to that.
become, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
there
like
is.
I guess what I'm thinking about is with what you mentioned, like maybe it might be part manifestation, part this, part that. I think and I see all those in there. And another thing that I think too is just like knowing the opponent or whatever, right? And then I think maybe he's finding their weaknesses and like, okay, well, I'm gonna go for this, or oh, he's
Oh, for
susceptible to this, and then so that's he's gonna make his prediction based off of maybe that, like, so he can hammer that
oh,
in.
that's of course. Like,
Yeah.
if you go into a fight, especially as a professional, you gotta have a game plan. You gotta study your opponent and you know train accordingly.
Yeah.
Train to exploit his or her uh, weaknesses. If their grappling game is weak, you go to the ground. If their stand-up game is is weak, you got the advantage on that. If their grappling game is strong, do not let yourself be pulled to the ground.
Yeah.
Because
For yeah, like
you gotta have a game plan, but also you gotta believe. Like, you gotta believe in yourself. That's like the manifestation part
yeah.
of it. Like, you see that in many other sports as well, like the Olympic sports on the high bar, for example. I know that, um, or I've seen that like years ago in a documentary, that visualization is a big part of their training, especially if they're trying to learn something new. And then a lot of, well, good coaches will tell their students to first visualize themselves doing it, like just in their mind's eye, see themselves doing it. Because if you can do it in your mind, then your body will eventually follow.
Yeah. Yeah, like one of my dance mentors, he had kind of mentioned this too, like before he would do a show or something, that he would just kind of calm down and just kind of just see the whole thing happening, like him on the stage already. And then even what was it, 2 nights ago, I saw not the whole thing because it was late at night, and I just saw maybe the first half of the Arnold. It's on Netflix or on whatever it was. And
Hmm.
he said that he was talking about himself, that he has like, I don't know if he called it a talent or a gift of like he could see clearly, like even since like a kid or a teenager, and whatever the clear vision he would have, he would be able to like sculpt that, or to like manifest that or put it out in the world. And then so like there's like really a thing for that,
And
and like
that's,
knowing your opponent,
yeah, but being able to work towards that goal that you have already visualized for yourself, that's some real power. And that's how you get to to those levels. I mean,
Yeah.
actors do it too. For example, Jim Carrey, one of the most popular and well beloved actors there is, like, um, he's been, struggling, of course, when he first started out as a comedian, as an actor. Of course, he starts small, he struggled a bit, but he had this vision for himself that he will make it. And what he did is he wrote himself $1 million check and put that in his wallet and told himself, one day I will be able to cash this check. And that's that day. Was when, I believe, when he did Dumb and Dumber. That's
Oh,
when he made his first billion. I mean, like, the check was like pretty much long gone by then. Like, there was barely anything of it left. Just like a scrap of paper. If you keep it for years in your wallet, of course, it's gonna deteriorate. But that's like almost physical manifestation. Like,
for
to
sure.
have that check, have that
Yeah.
amulet, if you will, like, with you at all times, with that promise to yourself.
Yeah, you're like calling yourself out, and there's like accountability thing to there. And then even and I guess I think about like these people are like they're like buying into themselves to the point where they're letting themselves fall off the edge. And then so like like a trust fall, like you're letting yourself go, and like there's like this trust factor because you don't know what's over the edge. It's like the void. Like it could be like you have no like it could be anything. And then so like you have to like I'm also learning like in poker, like you have to get comfortable with this uncertainty. Because
Yeah.
before, in my earlier days of going to the card room, I was like trying to bypass this, or I was trying to like either bypass it, shortcut it, or try to or cheat it. I was basically trying to cheat it, and all the other players were not, and so that's why they were beating me. And I'm like, and so it took me a while to like it was like a pride thing, but also like a fear thing or a control thing. And then so now I'm learning like, no, you have to be open to like the vulnerability. I was trying to make myself not vulnerable, but there's a vulnerability. And then so for example, like when the board comes out, the cards, right? When the board comes out, nobody knows what it's going to be initially in the beginning, like prior to.
Hmm.
So that's why your structure, like your plan, your implemented plan, has to be so trusted that you're just willing to close your eyes and to like teeter off the edge. And then that's where riding the wave comes, because then it's like sometimes you're going to go up and down, but if you just hold on to that, like the board and all that stuff that you rolled off the edge with, it usually kind of evens out, at least usually evens out, if if you stuck to your plan. And that's where all that
Yeah.
trust, like all that trust stuff comes in. And then
Yeah.
like
And
knowing
it's
yourself.
it's also, if you, like, what it sounds like what you were trying, or what you were doing, was holding yourself back by trying to circumvent it, by trying to cheat it. I mean, like, if you want to know how to win, learn how to lose, because you're gonna
Yeah.
lose 10 times and maybe win once.
Yeah.
And those 10 times, they are gonna suck. Because, like, everyone has the power of hindsight. Everyone is gonna be like, oh, should have done this, and if I only done that, and if I tweak this a little, I could have won big and whatever. But the higher the rush is when you eventually win, when you have learned from those 10 losses and you saw what you did wrong, and like, how to do it right. And I mean, sure, you like, there is a thing with being competitive. Like, there is nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're both men. Like, we're competitive. It's in our nature. So, but don't, um, like, learning to, uh, well, that trustful, to trust yourself, that even if you're falling, it's gonna be all right. Eventually either you're gonna get caught and you're safe, or you're gonna fall flat on your face, and then you just have to get up and try again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
And
yeah, like there's a thing with with like bigger risk and bigger reward. Like there is a bit of a correlation with that, like you don't
yeah,
necessarily want to be, a suicide bomber, a kamikaze type of person because that's like super it's super like you can just get in hairier situations. So I mean, if you like thrills like that, then good, But like even with me and my safer nature, in a sense that I try to be more safer than not, I'm still realizing no, you still have to be willing. You have to be willing to die or to lose, basically. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You have to be willing to go down. Like if you're in a fight, you never know, dude. Like even if you think you got the person, you never know. Like you could always lose in a sense. And then so like you have to like there's like a certain humbleness, and then that's just a part of the game. You know what I mean? Like if they know
yeah,
their shit too, that's a part of the game. Like the nature of the beast or whatever. So
yeah.
yeah,
No, that's absolutely true. Like you have to be um you have to be able to lose. Like go big, for sure. Go big. It's pretty cheesy, but go big or go home. You definitely can take risks,
yeah,
but don't go. Speaking in poker terms, don't go all in without knowing the risk, because then you're going to lose it all. That's the kamikaze thing that you were
yeah.
we're talking about. Like, it's okay to take risks, but be wise about it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't go all in and then get upset when you lose everything because you didn't take into account the risk factor.
Yeah. Yeah, this concept that you just explained, that was something that was like a little bit more inherent in me in the beginning, when I was going to the room over there, to the card room. And so now that I've like that was more easier for me to grasp, right? And then the one that was harder for me to grasp was the other one that you just said about the go big or go home one. Because I saw that by not believing in myself and by not making myself bigger, I was missing out on a lot of shit, like big time shit that I could have had, but because I downplayed myself or I played smaller, then I was missing stuff. I was actually losing on money in a sense. And then
Yeah,
so like now I'm like, oh dude, like so and now I'm starting to get the vision of like playing bigger, like and like myself as bigger. So this is something that now I'm branching off into getting more comfortable with. So that's been my progression. Yeah. So
yeah,
now I'm thinking more about bigger and stuff like that as opposed to, you know, making sure that I don't, get sucked out on or or have to get, knocked out and stuff like that. So yeah, so
yeah.
that's kind of what
But
I've been learning because if you don't have that part too, you're never gonna with how the game is evolving, you're never gonna survive now because now everyone the information is out there. There's so much information out there. There's so much like you can get on these apps and like these poker crunchers and do these like they're getting so into it's getting very deep, like that. And then so it's not like how before
yeah,
like in the 70s, for example, all they did was just get a pack of cards and just start dealing them to themselves and see how many times let's see how many times this comes out. Let's do like they were just doing it by themselves. And now it's like you have all this information that you have to,
algorithms,
yeah,
AI, you name it. Yeah,
yeah, yes. And so now you have to keep up with all that because if not, you'll be just an afterthought. And it's a trip, because you see these things, you see people come and go so much, so much, so much that yeah, and so so I'm adapting. I'm learning that there is a meta game. There is a long term big game
oh yeah,
along with like your own personal game. So I'm trying to like merge these things so I don't get left behind in a sense. Like I still want to keep up. I still want to be like in there like that. So that's a part of
yeah. And like confidence is key with that as well. Like if you're going into something, like, and you're not sure about it, you're kind of scared because you don't know what it's gonna be like. You don't know how it's gonna go. Then you're gonna fail. Like, sorry, it's that simple.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you're going in with hesitation, then you're gonna hold yourself back. and you're not going to get the desired result.
Yeah, it's
So
gonna be
just,
a
it's that's, I mean, you can. I know I keep saying manifestation a lot, but it's something that my wife and I have been working a lot on lately. But it's like it's all part of it. If you believe in yourself, if you believe in your abilities, and are not scared to fail, like even like I said, even if you don't win, then just make sure you don't lose.
yeah. Yeah, no, and that's real with the manifesting because shit pans out. Like if you hold on to your vision and your dream with your will, and then now I'm learning like the have like the humbleness to know that you can lose at any time in a sense, then it like I'm basically living it right now. Like no, it is possible. Like you don't necessarily like it's not a get rich quick scheme or like you have to kind of chip away and chip away and chip away little by little and grind, but it is possible. It is very possible. And then so yeah, and
It's
yeah, um
it's a long game to play, but that's the thing with everything, and that's like everybody wants that get rich get rich quick scheme, or just everyone wants the maximum result with minimum effort,
yeah.
and that's
Like that
just
shortcutty way. Yeah, yeah, like that kind of reminds me of the vibe that I was going into the game with initially. I thought I was like, "Oh, I'm smart. I can find a way to wiggle my way around these people." But they'll wiggle right back at you harder and harder and they'll be like, "No, no, no,
yeah.
little guy, like no, no, no." Like and and then especially how you said with the confidence thing. Holy shit, man. Like there's so much prepping that I do to myself even before like I go in there in terms of like a mindset and energy because if I go in there in a weird apprehensive unconfident doubting way, these people don't care and a lot of them, a good chunk of them actually thrive off of that energy to to establish their dominance on you. So it's like, oh no,
Oh
like
yeah,
there'll be sharks, like
that's
there'll be sharks smelling the blood, and then they'll do it for fun. Like even like and then maybe even the whole table will gang up on you if you're like that. If you'll go in there in front of them, then they'll all want to fight you in a sense.
I
And
mean
so
that's life. Like really, that's
yeah.
life. There will always be bigger fish, and if you're and indeed, like the whole confidence thing, and like basically preying upon it works like in a downwards motion. Like they see you come in kind of hesitant, kind of scared, so they're gonna just at first, like, poke and prod a bit, see how far they can take it, and you react to it. You're getting kind of insecure because, oh, all these big guys, these big fish, are, they're teasing me and they're doing so much better than I am. And then, they're just going to take more and more and more until they, if you're really unlucky, take the clothes off your body, and they're just like, we're just playing the game, man. We're
Yeah.
just playing the game.
Yeah. And then it's like you're like, yeah, that's what I noticed. It's like the universe, has its ways with working with like karma, and all that
Yeah.
stuff and its own version of like serving justice and all that. And I tell you that those card rooms are a prime example of watching karma and justice get served. Like whatever little hesitantness, it's gonna slap you back in the face. Or if someone was just being wild and just out of line the whole time, then later on these people just they get put through the ringer. And then so you see all this stuff
Yeah.
happen really quickly, like really quickly. It's like there was a guy just the other day that you could tell he was kind of new because he was asking like certain questions like oh like he was just asking kind of just kind of certain questions that you could just tell that he didn't like it was probably his first time there. And he started to like question how we were playing, like the rest of us at the table, like oh well why are you not showing this and why are you doing like as if he's like some professional or something, right? And then like at first we were
Yeah.
kind of quiet and then like little by little we're like hey man, like it's just not like this over here, like that's not the etiquette of this place. And then he started like really complaining to the point where the the pit bosses were coming to our table to like to
Oh
quiet, like,
man.
hey guys, like, are you guys okay? Like, relax, guys. And right when this climaxed, some guy that he played sucked him out for like all his hundreds of dollars. So he just had to leave. He just had to leave anyway. Like, oh, it's time for him to go anyway. Like, and that was it. And that was it. You know, it's like, and then you see this time and time again. Like,
Yeah.
um, it's either energetic leaks or meant like mindset leaks, and or sometimes I call it like I use a metaphor of like a booger hanging out of your nose where you don't even know what's hanging out. Like some people go in there like that, and you see that these things end up biting you in the butt. So that's why I'm like, oh my god, like I'm doing my best now to try to like organize and like secure my life, like in terms of where I feel like stable and like solid, like in all aspects from work to relationships, everything, right? And
Yeah.
so now that way I go in there and I'm like, okay, like I got my shit together. Like I'm steady, even keel. Like I want to be steady, you know, like kind of more of
Yeah.
a solid, steady vibe. And so that way, and so that way, I'm able to sustain myself. And so, and I feel it playing out too, because I've seen through the months and the couple of short years that these people who had seen me before, like their image of me has changed a bit. And then,
Be-
and
because
yeah,
because you are working on yourself, because you are growing confident and seeing the results, which makes your confidence grow even
yeah,
more. And that's, that's the thing with like guys that you just described. Like, first of all, fucking annoying. I would have probably kicked him out myself. um
yeah. The management started coming to our table, like, hey guys, like they started to like, and we're like, this guy over here, like he's like questioning this and that, and like we're just like, and even my friend, my buddy across was like, ah, just leave him alone. Like he's like, you can't say that, you can't help this guy, like and it's
no,
okay. I mean
that's
that like that kind of comes around, but it's just so funny that right when he was climaxing on his rant, that he had to literally leave because he just had no more money. He was like, no, well, that was it for you, sir. Like that was it. And
because he was riding too high on
yeah,
fake confidence, perhaps. And
yeah, yeah,
karma
yeah. Like
doesn't
he felt,
care.
yeah, he
Karma
felt
doesn't
like he was
care. you know
yeah, he kind of thought he was, I guess, bigger than he was, and then he was judging, he I don't know, it was weird. Like I don't know what was wrong with him, but
he was a
yeah,
minnow trying to be a whale, or
yeah, yeah. Like I hear the example. Where did I hear this from? But this might have been from a poker podcast. I can't remember. But they use the metaphor of like driving, for example, right?
yeah.
Like almost everyone who has a license can drive, right? And then a lot of bad drivers, they think that they're kind of like good drivers in a sense. So like that's kind of like an
Yeah, yeah,
example of
yeah,
like how like,
yeah,
and so that's exactly what it's like for poker. It's like a lot of people think that they're like really good, or I've played enough and this and that, but then it's the varying degrees on this is really concise compared to like other things. It's like super more concise and subtle, and then so that's why people are susceptible to thinking that they're a lot better. And so with me, I was more like the opposite. I knew I wasn't better. Like I thought I was okay, but I'm more actually working on like confidence. I'm actually working more on being bigger and feeling bigger and playing bigger. So that's
yeah,
like, but everyone's a little different, but that was kind of more my version. And then, yeah, but I mean, I like to say that it's working out because even people that, like I said earlier, people who knew me from before, they see me a little different now. And then people that I just met, I like how they view me now, like in a sense. Like I don't know, like I like this compared to before. I'm like, oh, this is where it's more at. Like so, I feel like I'm in the right direction. And so,
yeah. Feel
yeah,
feel feels good, huh? Like once you know that's like that you are getting
yeah,
getting up there.
yeah,
That's where that you're looking, well, not necessarily looking down at guys, but looking at other guys who are in the position that you started in, that you were in like a few years ago, and you're like, yeah, I've really grown. This has gone really well. I fucking love this. Yeah.
yeah. It's like before, like I had good qualities about me, but there was a lot of uncertainty. in terms of like a
Mhm.
knowingness, like, oh, I know, like there's like a knowing that I didn't have before, where now I have like this, it's like like a silent knowing, I guess,
Mhm.
and so now I'm like, oh, like this feels way better, like I can really see what's happening, where before it was like harder to see what's happening, and now I'm like, okay, like I feel like I can observe truly, you know what I mean, where before I was going in and out of it, and so yeah,
You're
it feels a
you're
lot
getting
better.
into that, flow, and the flow is, it's more constant now, instead of
Yeah,
just like the up and down waves. Like, yeah, I very
yeah,
much recognize that. You know what you just said about um, like everyone that's terrible at something thinks they're way better at it. Like, like I said, kind of going back to the whole jujitsu thing. That was me when I first stepped on the mat. Like, already, strong and whatever, and I was like, technique. What technique? Power. And
yeah.
then
Like I'll just muscle
getting
my way. I'll just muscle my way through it, type of, Yeah,
Yeah, and
and then
then
yeah,
getting tapped 3 times in a minute.
yeah. Well, that's exactly what you see over there. People do that same mentality, but they use the chips. They think if I just shove enough chips in your face, then that's just gonna work every time, and then that does not work every time.
Yeah,
It,
you're
it's
you're
it's
gonna
it's
you're gonna get intimidated, and
yeah,
"Ooh, I'm a big guy," and then
yeah.
you lose everything.
It's a powerful move. It's a very, very powerful move. But to have that be like just like your main move and think that you can just eat off of that move, that's not the way to go. Like it's not
No,
definitely enough. Yeah, so you see that happen, and then some other people do another version. They call it like the panic shove, where they're they know they have a pretty good hand, but then something happens in the middle of it where they get a little bit scared or uncertain, like, oh, I'm not sure if at this point I have the best hand, so now I'm going to try to force my way into this, and then there's too many people at the table to try to force your way in all the time because someone's going to call you out. Like one person will probably end up calling you out in a sense, and so that doesn't, yeah, so I'm learning,
yeah,
and then yeah, like the other main thing though was I just had to come to grips with the uncertainty thing, or like the part where
yeah,
I say like where you kind of let yourself fall off the edge and it's going to be dark and you don't know what you're going to see after. I like that's a part of, it's a part of the universe. Like the void is a part of the universe, like how you can't
it
see in
is.
there, but it's a thing. Like no thing, nothing is a thing. All right, even if it's nothing, right? But that's a thing. And so now I'm like, oh no, like you have to embrace that. You have to embrace that etheric thing, that spiritual nature of a thing
True.
in the universe. And then so
And
yeah,
so many people are afraid to do that. Like, everyone wants to, like, already see and already know what lies ahead. Like, we don't like being surprised. We don't like
yeah,
not knowing. So that's why so many people will stay in their comfort zone, will stay in their bubble, will stay in the place, or at the place where they know everything, where they know what's gonna happen. Or, it's maybe that's why game addiction is such a big thing as well, and has become even greater. That's because, with a video game, if you fail, then at least you can reset
yeah,
and do it over. And maybe it'll work this time. Doesn't matter if I have to do it 100 times. Doesn't matter if I have to do it 1,000 times. I can do it over. No consequences.
yeah,
But in
yeah,
life, it's, if you fail miserably at one thing, there are going to be consequences, and then you have to kind of deal with those consequences. And nobody wants to deal with consequences because, that requires a whole lot of effort and requires just so much energy, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel nice, and I don't want this, so I'm gonna avoid it, but
yeah.
never grow because I keep avoiding it.
It's a
It's
version
it's
of a crutch. It's a version of a crutch based off of comfortability. Like people have their comfort zones, and then so it's like, unfortunately, around here, the only way to grow is you have to be able to break through your comfort zone a bit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's good to have that comfort zone where you can, like, go back in every once in a while, because you don't always have to
yeah,
break barriers down. Like, at a certain point, you get tired of it, or you just or like you can retreat a little because you have already broken down so many barriers, and you just have to like let it play out for a bit. Because if you go too far, then like there are consequences to that as well.
Yeah.
Spreading yourself too thin. It's a thing.
Yeah, you'll get like a type of shell shocked if you just always try to break the mold. Then that's bad too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
like you don't want to
absolutely.
stretch your money too thin or stretch your energy too thin. Like because yeah, you want to it's like a weird balance of like eating your staple food. Like maybe for me it's like rice and beans, you know what I mean? Like it's good to you want to eat your rice and beans, but you don't want to have it 7 days a week 3 times a day. Like, oh my god, like that's just over, you know what I mean? Like
No, like
you still want to be able to branch out and have your fun, your fun thing, whatever you call that. And so yeah, it's like a balance, for
yeah,
sure.
or if that is really comfort food, but you want to try something else, but you also kind of don't. Maybe add something to it first, like same dish, just with a little extra. That way, it's kind of out of your comfort zone, but not really because it's still your comfort zone, just with a little extra. And for some people, it's just like I'm just gonna dive off that cliff and hope that the water is deep enough. And some people are just like, you know what, kiddie pool. Let's start at the kiddie pool, and maybe from there just go deeper. Just and it's true what you said. Unfortunately, in this 3D world, third dimension, whatever physical dimension that we live in, the only way to really progress is through hardship, through breaking down those barriers, going outside of your comfort zone. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's scary, and yeah, it can come back to bite you sometimes. God knows I've made some mistakes, which I'm still trying to fix. Um, but as long as you learn from it, then it should all be fine. It should all just work out in the end.
Yeah, yeah. If you ride that wave, you stick to your plan, and it's good to progress. Like how you say, you can start in the kiddie pool. Like for example, like when I was going in there, I was starting off with like the minimal buy-in that game will allow, and then little by little, a couple months later, then you add $20 to that buy-in. Then a couple months later, another 20. Just like so that's my plan right now. I'm like learning to play with different stack sizes increment by increment by increment, and then eventually I'll keep going, and then I'll know what it's like to play with a deep stack and blah blah blah. So
Yeah,
that's a progression, and then knowing that yeah, the deeper it is, the more you can drown in a sense. But at least this way, I have a plan of getting my feeling in each spot. And then that way, when I branch out to like the deeper part of the pool, where it's like a deep level of pool where where your feet won't touch the ground, I'll be mentally prepared for that, and I'll have a feeling of my foundation of what I had before, what it took to get me to that deeper part of the pool. And then so that's like with that, like it's good to have like your plan and like your structure of knowing how you're gonna be able to get yourself out of your comfort zone. Like that's the same thing with like
yeah,
lifting weights, with like lifting weights. Like I'm like, okay, well, today I'm gonna do 2 plates on the bench press, and then in 2 weeks I'll add 5 pounds to each side, and then in hopefully a month or two I'll add 10 pounds on each side, and then so like I,
like
I
it's
know I'm like building myself up to get to this uncomfortable place, but I'm
like
progressing.
with gym
Progress.
stuff. That's the most basic thing. Like every gym bro, every trainer, everyone who has seen like videos from gym bros or trainers or whatever on YouTube will tell you progressive overload. Like
Yes, sir.
every week, just add a little more. Just add a little more, 5 pounds more, and 10 pounds more, 15 pounds more. And, before you know it, you're lifting the heavy weights that you always dreamed that you would one day lift.
Yeah. And
But
it's weird
it's,
too because it's like you end up tricking your body in a way. Like you end
yeah,
up tricking like your central nervous system in a way. And then that's what I'm learning too, that of like what's happening like in poker. Like before, I was more conscientious of seeing the chips as money. right? And then now I'm like
Ah,
learning to see these things as increments of the things that I'm playing with in a game. Like it's like more like increments of things to give me leverage and even like energy. I'm seeing it more like that as opposed to the actual cash. Because once you start thinking about it like that, it can like fuck up your mind.
oh
You're gonna
yeah,
start to be like, oh wait a minute, but then if I lose this, then I'm not gonna be able to pay this. You know what I mean? And then so like that shit'll, even if it's true, like in that situation, having that mindset, it's not going to be good. Like you'll probably get taken advantage of. Like they'll
yeah.
probably read
That's
that
that.
through you, and then they'll take advantage of you for that fact.
Yeah,
For for
and then you'll
for
lose
being
even
practical,
more. Yeah,
yeah. Like you're trying to be practical and safe, and they end up just So it's like weird. It's like a trip, but it's true that like once I started to kind of get more into that concept, I was like, oh my god, you can really use like leverage. You can really use your chips as like leverage, as like energy, like this currency. And then so it's like,
yeah.
and then that's where a lot of magic can possibly happen, because when you do those kind of moves, you don't necessarily have to see the cards till showdown. Showdown means where it's like the end of the card run out. Like you might even get paid halfway through the card run out, and then that was it. And you just won already. So you probably
Hmm.
didn't even have to see it through. And it was because you saw your stuff as like it's more of like a currency, like more of an energetic thing, as opposed to like, this is gonna
Energy,
pay my
energy,
car bill.
energy is currency. It's the most expensive currency there is, because once it's spent, it's you're not gonna get it back.
Yeah. And then
So
that's what this place that we're in, this planet that we're on, this is where this is what we're using. And then so it's like actually a thing. And so it's weird because like like in spirituality, sometimes you get the notion, you'll hear that like, oh, like money, you don't want to hang on, like money's like, they'll have the idea of like that money's bad, and some people say that money's like good. And then so like there's like a thing with that. And then so but I'm learning that it is something good to be embraced. Like it's good to use it. It's good to use it as well. You just don't, obviously, like anything else, you don't want to get sucked into it and just elude, like kind of delusional about it. But it,
yeah,
it it is good to embrace in a sense, and to even be proud of your, like, the things that you're building. And then yeah.
it's money is a tool. Energy is a tool. It's how you use it. Like, yeah, you can use it for nefarious purposes. Energy, money, it doesn't matter. We see that all the time, that it's being used for nefarious purposes. But you can also use it for good. You can use use your energy to to extort someone or to make someone's life miserable, but you can also help it. You can also use it to help them heal. You
Yeah.
can use money to pay people to play out certain agendas, but you can also use it to take your family out to dinner. Help help your parents when they're struggling with whatever it may be. It's not like there is no true good, there is no true bad. It all depends on
Yeah.
how it's being used, what's it being used for. Like everything is, it may sound very simplistic, but everything is a tool. In
Yeah.
that sense, it's always straight down the middle, and whatever it's used for, however you use it, it you know makes it either good or bad. you know Magic, money, energy, like dark magic, yeah, because it's used for nefarious purposes. That's what makes it dark. Is magic dark? No,
Yeah.
it can be used for it.
Yeah.
It can be used for light.
Yeah, if you want to be benevolent and try to help, or be, you know malicious in some kind of way, and hurt someone. And but it's like, for me, it's like I'm seeing like it's good to embrace money, because like there's like it'll help. Like, I don't necessarily want to be like luxurious type of thing, but there's like a freedom, there's like a sense of freedom that it helps with like that whole survival mode thing, that people will
Yeah,
have in the root chakra, that can come up sometimes when your root chakra can be imbalanced. And so like so it's good, like in a way it's probably tied to that, and other ones in a way, but at least for that one, for sure. And So it's like like there's like a good thing in regards to like I guess like having like liberties, like flexibility and freedoms and stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, man.
just just having enough money to live comfortably. That's that's really all you need. Like
Yeah,
those billions and billions of like Musk or Bezos or whatever, they're never going to be able to spend that money anyway, and that money doesn't, like, it doesn't buy you happiness. Like, yeah, it buys you a multi-million-dollar mansion and like every sports car that you ever dreamt of and whatever, but once you have that, it's like, okay, yeah, these are material goods. Yeah, it's cool. I love having a Ferrari. I love showing off with my multi-million-dollar mansion. But
yeah, but
does it really make you
yeah.
happy? I very much doubt it.
And it's so unrealistic to like think you're gonna be able to spend all your money. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's just like it's like a ridiculous like those things, like those amounts of are pretty ridiculous. It's like you just don't want to feel like you're freaking not making it. You know what I mean? Like to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
that's all you need. Just be comfortable. Just be comfortable with what you have. If you like, no excess but no shortage. Like, right right down the middle. That's that's good. That's all you need.
yeah. Yeah, it works out, man. Just how we were talking earlier, you got to ride the wave, and then once you ride the wave and you see all the stuff, and then you hang on. Once you hung on, you're a pretty good favorite. Like you still could lose the match, the battle or the match, but
Mhm.
once you row the wave and you see that the wave has kind of subsided, you're the favorite. You're actually the favorite. So if I was gonna make a bet, I'd probably put it on you. You're gonna be at least over 50% of the favorite, like probably 60% or more, which I'll put my money on that. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, it works, man. But yeah, I like to thank you for coming on, dude. Freaking yeah, it was great. It was great chatting. It kind of flew by for me, but I like
Yeah,
talking about this
it
stuff,
it
man.
did. I I don't think an hour has gone by that fast in a while, and I've been doing a lot of recording, a lot of podcasts lately, but this has been chill. This has been
Hell
good.
yeah, dude.
Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was good. I kind of needed to hear all this stuff. It's like it helped me with because we all as whether we're athletes in our own way or whether we're players of some sort, or whatever we like, whatever our passions lie in. Sometimes you need to hear stuff because giving yourself the pep talk is good, but then when you hear it from someone, you can feel their energy, you can feel where they've come from and their own battles that they've done in order to say the things that they're saying. Like it really resonates to help get the engine, to help get the engine going, like it had a tune up and
Yeah,
all that stuff. You know what I mean? And so
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
good to
for
hear all
sure.
this. Like we have to prepare ourselves. Like even before you go to jujitsu, you have to be mentally preparing yourself for like, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and because what's probably going to come. And then so
I
we all
do.
have to, we're always like we're like prepping ourselves. And so yeah, I really
Yeah, man.
appreciate that. It was perfect. It was a perfect theme podcast for me as well, for kind of where I'm at right now. And so yeah, before we go, please let the people know where they could find you, and then and about your podcast too.
Yeah, for sure. I'm StijnFawkes. I am the host of the Greyhorn Pagans podcasts. We talk about everything paganism, witchcraft, mysticism, a little bit of cults, a little bit of esoterica, um, and just everything on the fringes of those topics. You can find pretty much everything we do with the Greyhorn Pagans on our website, www.greyhornpagans.com. Last time we were on, I didn't have that website yet. So I'm very happy that I do now because it's so much better. It's so much, oh, very happy about it.
Nice,
Um,
nice, official.
oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You can find me on Twitter, on Minds, on TikTok. where I share my account with my wife, Firefay. Um, my wife and I, we've also started our own Substack where we kind of journal our journey. I like how that sounds. Uh, with our manifestation goals, like we have certain goals we want to reach, and we're trying to do that through the power of manifestation and law of attraction and all that kind of stuff. You can find that on Fox and Faye. That's FAE on Substack, which you can also find through the Greater Pagans website. That's why I have the website to just place everything on there.
Hell yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'll definitely have
so
that in the notes for everyone, so they can check out your website and then also check out your
yes,
podcast for sure.
yes, awesome.
Hell yeah, good shit, dude. Yeah, good stuff, man. Appreciate you coming on. Well, yeah, and then real quick, guys, you can if you want to know, I don't know if you want to know if you have any questions about the show, or if you want to inquire about getting on as a guest, you can just email me at uncannymysticminds@gmail. And then in general, that's the same for IG, and then for TikTok, mine is Louie that 11, and then the YouTube is Uncanny Mystic Minds. And so I don't have all the videos, but I'm dumping them out, as I go to. I have all the stuff on Spotify. You can find the videos, and then on all other major podcast platforms, we have the audio versions and all that good stuff. So check that out too, guys, and help support that. And I'd like to thank you once again, bro, for coming on. So yeah, yeah, thank you. And then later on, whenever you got some downtime, because I know we're both busy bees and shit, but later on,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, we'll rock it out again. We'll have some fun, mess around,
Oh, for
and
sure.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate that. It was good talk, good fun, and yeah. So I want to say thank you for that. Right on.
Thank you for having me on. It's been good,
Hell
man.
yeah, dude. Good shit. All right, guys. Well, that was another episode for Uncanny Mystic Minds, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.